back. As you can see, I'm here sitting on my solid floor. This took me probably almost, I think, maybe 2 months to complete. Only because I was learning how to do the stuff. I was trying to make my own panels. The Princess Auto bead roller. Not fantastic piece of equipment. A lot of reviews online said you got to beef them up or they're really no good, but unfortunately I just didn't have the time or the desire to try and beef it up. I just wanted to see if it'll work just the way it was. Other than it flexing a little bit, I was still able to make the panels. Of course, it looks a little bit like patchwork quilt here, but it's solid and it's gotten the job done. I just hope it impresses the guys at the motor vehicle inspection when I go to take it in. Cross my fingers. The hardest part, I guess, was just working with the larger panels. Making small panels, not so bad. And of course, with having an old body guy friend, he had connections to a nice, full shop bender, and so I could make some of these lips or flanges a little easier than trying to just bend them over by hand. Actually, quite a few I did bend over by hand, but it's nice to have that nice crisp edge. So a lot of work involved, a lot of trying to figure out what to cut, where to cut. Am I cutting too much? Am I going to be able to put this back together? And then it was just starting with the toe boards and then trying to work your way back and hoping everything was going good. The body panels on this car were actually all refitted, I guess in the 70s when they decided to make this a custom. The only thing they didn't do was really concentrate on the structure of the car. They just welded in whatever steel they had at the time. This side, it had a whole bunch of 19 gauge sheet patches, and over here was a 16 gauge sheet patch that was basically the whole side of the car, but there was still issues with rot and rust that I had to deal with, so it all came out. Went through quite a few cutting discs on the driver's side, trying to get through that steel. As well as they did replace the inner rockers. They did replace the outer rockers, and all the body panels were hand formed on this car, and kind of keeping with the hot rod tradition of doing the work yourself and hand forming all your patches. I just wanted to stay with that. So I ended up cutting out the inner rockers because they were rough, and of course the outer rockers are showing signs of rot as well, so I'm just going to completely cut those out. But even the EMS panels that I've seen online, they look more like a C channel as opposed to what the factory had was a pinch weld at these flanges here. So I wanted to mimic that as much as possible, and it turned out pretty good. Obviously it's not going to look factory, it's not going to look pretty, but it is solid. All brand new braces, front and back, which I plug welded in. The coating on these stupid braces, galvanizing, was probably harder to get off than it was to weld all these panels together. It's a pretty strong coating, I guess, but can't weld on galvanized, right? So a few things are going on. I still have to do a couple welds in here and a couple welds over there. Nothing really, just to fill holes where I had screws. And one thing I did do, I really don't quite understand why the seat is always so close to the steering wheel. I had the new seat pushed all the way back, and I'm just sitting way too close to the steering wheel. And I'm not a tall guy, I'm 5'7", and they must have been really short back in 1950, 1951, because I mean, I actually spent the time to hammer down this, I don't know, I guess you'd call it, what, like a brace or something, like a side impact brace even, I guess. Don't know if it did any good, probably not. So what I did was hammered that nice and flat, both sides, just so I could modify the seat, just to get it back an inch or two, and just have the ability to adjust the seat to where I like it, as opposed to, you know, having one setting and having to live with it. And yeah, that's basically it. Like I said, I rebuilt the toe boards, some of the lower panels here on both sides got some metal, and I've got this old shifter in here. It looks like it's probably from like a 70 Mustang or something like that. It's gonna go because it's junk. All the bushings are gone out of it. And when I get the dash put back in here, I'm probably going to make a small console just up here underneath the dash, and putting in like a B&M shifter. You know, something that kind of would suit the style of the car. It was a custom car. It's the reason why I bought it. You know, I didn't want to buy a a stock car that was, you know, you didn't want to touch, you didn't want to change. So, you know, everything I have, I want to make my own. It doesn't matter if it's a model kit. I'm pretty sure if you've seen my Instagram, you know what I do with model kits. You know, it's just how I go. For building models for so long, it was just getting boring putting models together. You know, I wanted to actually finally create something that's no different than this. I want to create this and make it my own. And so far, so good. To tell you the truth, you know, the car was already there in the customized, you know, version of the word, I guess. I was just trying to finish it off. You know, I put the roll pan in the back, which I'll probably show a video of at some point, and you know, I fixed the trunk in the car. It's nice and solid now. Even the lower body mounts I had to repair back there. That was not pretty, because that was probably my second welding job, and it looks like shit. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I did a lot of grinding back there, but it is solid. You know, I'm pretty happy actually with how these welds came out. You know, tack, 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 and all nice and strong, good penetration on them. So, yeah, again, I've, you know, friends that have kind of coached me along the way. I'll post something up and they'll say, hey, you got to use a little bit more heat, or, you know, this or that. And so it's been kind of an online education for me while trying to learn how to do this stuff again. But yeah, once I get this windshield frame done, that's going to be a major hurdle. That was the part that hurt me the most, was getting that bit of news where I had to learn how to fix that, because so many curves in the windshield. It was really hard to understand, you know, how the metal should bend and whatnot. So, but yeah, you know, the car's coming along. Maybe the next video, I'll show some of the fuel system that I did, and that trunk portion. But the probably again show some more photos of what the interior looked like, or what the floor looked like, and how much I started cutting out to where I ended up cutting out and replacing all of it. You know, except this piece here. I was glad to have that, because it kind of gave me something to weld to, and a guide to go by. You know, even because it's got the Turbo 350 transmission, I had to notch out over here a little bit just to make some room for it, and as well I had to raise up this floor just a little bit just to make sure that I wasn't having any functionality issues with the shifter. And that being said, I probably didn't have to do that now that I'm going to go with an aftermarket one that you know, is cable driven. So, but here nor there about it. Transmission has lots of clearance now, so I'm happy about that. I won't be hearing any knocking or you know, having any issues of rubbing. And, especially when I'm on the gas, because well, maybe I'll show that video too of actually taking it down the street where, you know, we get going, the front end lifts off the, well, not the whole front end, just the, she raises up, and that was kind of a fun moment. Even my one friend that was here, he was watching me take it down the road. He's like, "Man, I can't believe how much the front end came up on that car." And I'm like, "Yeah, imagine what it will do if it's tuned up." All right, so I'm gonna put together some clips and watch those, and I'll see you at the end.
These are the eyes of a psychopath.
The photos, I mean, I gotta learn how to put some music in it or something, or maybe, I don't know, maybe get a better microphone so it sounds like I'm not speaking in a hallway or something like that. So, you know, the one nice thing about, you know, doing the stuff yourself is saving money, really. You know, when I grew up, didn't have a lot of money. You know, life's tough sometimes, and the only thing you really truly get out of that is a sense of, you know, if you want something, you got to do it yourself, and if you don't do it yourself, you're never going to get anything. So this is it. Like, you know, yeah, I've been successful in the last few years, but I mean, I've lived so long of learning how to, you know, repair my own house, do renovations, you know, fix stuff when it breaks. You know, this was just an evolution of finally starting in on a car, especially my dream car. Not really the car you want to start on learning on, but you know what, it gives you the motivation to, you know, learn the stuff and learn how to do it properly. So, you know, the next car you go to do, it's going to get, you know, the same, if not better treatment. But all right, guys, I will see you next video. Thank you very much for sticking around. So far, I've been enjoying creating these little videos to catch everybody up to speed on the build, and you know, putting a voice to what I've been doing here. So, see you later.